hopefully this is going to be quick and dirty. I've been waiting a long time for this. When I first moved into this place, before I left actually, before I moved, I had one of those small standard Porter cable joiners like what you would get at, I bought it at Lowe's, I think. Yeah, Lowe's, not Home Depot. And it costs a lot, and it's great for small things. And it sucks for everything else, and for me it dulled really quick. So I sold it after only a year and a half, I think, of owning it, and I bought it brand new. I took a severe loss on it, and my intent was, and I sold my thickness planer as well, which if you watch any of my videos, you know I just got the DW735 and upgraded it to the Shelix. My intent was to replace both the joiner and the planer with a giant, big cast iron unit, a used one. And it just so happened that right before I moved down here, an older man posted this one for a few $100s. I forgot. I think he wanted $450 for it. It's an 8-inch Grizzly G1018. I had to email them to figure out what it was because I couldn't figure it out, and then I couldn't remember, so I went ahead and labeled it. And I traded him 3 Ward's Master hand planes and a few $100, and I got this. But it was dull. It was deafening. It was unusable. So I also didn't have the levers down here. So those were, I think, $6 a piece or something really affordable like that. The bracket that goes on the cutters was maybe 8. I think it was 10. I went ahead and bought those, and then I had to take another wrench and grind it down in order to fit in there. And I keep looking over here. I can't find it. There it is. There's the bracket for the cutters. You put that on there because they're spring loaded, and you use that to set them evenly. I got some scrap oak out of my scrap pile, and I basically just lined the cutters up against the side of a saw blade, and then did what I could to replicate that angle on the saw blade, cut those, and then basically using essentially the scary sharp method on granite tile, I sharpened them up, and I got it usable. I get an adequate finish. It's not too loud, but my intent from the get-go, from the moment I bought it, before I bought it, my plans were to have Shelix in both of them, or a spiral cutter. But unfortunately, I ran into roadblocks afterwards because I bought it just like I bought the X5 drum sander, and then I rushed out and I bought it, and then I found out later the X5 was garbage. I bought it, and then it's old. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. There's tons of spare parts. Parts are available for it. That's not an issue. The problem is, and I'm extremely nervous right now, this joiner, through the years, has had at least 3 different cutter heads. And I had to essentially look at these schematics that you see here and figure out which cutter head went to this. And some of those, are precise measurements that a caliper is not going to measure. You can't, a digital caliper is not going to measure the width and tell you to a thousandth of an inch how wide that cutter head is. So it was very nerve-wracking, and I talked to their customer service rep multiple times, great guy, and I think I got the right one. And just like if you watch my DW735 video, it comes with a couple spare cutters, even though I didn't even ask for any. It comes with, I think there's 6 in here. It comes with the wrench, the instructions, the decal, and this is, I don't want to drop it. This is what matters, okay? This was an obscure joiner. I had to put a deposit on there, and I think I ordered this in September or August, and today is January 16th, and I just got it today. So that's it. You can see I put a lot of work in there where it's balanced considerably. There was a little bit of concern at first because this one little snaggletooth right here. The Wood Whisperer community, it was off to a rocky start. Most of them just kept telling me to rotate it and tighten them down. That's like the woodworker's version of tech support asking if you plugged it in or if you tried turning it on. I explained that the seat is cut that way. And then after that, somebody posted a link to the website, which I should have gone to immediately. Instead, I just emailed my customer service guy. And there's a link right on their website explaining why that little snaggletooth is right there. But in the meantime, I was measuring it, and that's really the only one that comes out to the full 8-inch. From here to here is the full 8-inch. And then I put some stuff in here and was spinning it, and all of them seem to kind of touch at the same point. So I feel good about the quality of the head now. But I'm super stressed about whether this is going to fit. So I'm going to put this in and we'll see what happens. So the first thing we're going to have to do is get this fence out of the way. The upper portion of this joiner is close to 500 pounds, and it was really not the funnest thing loading this up by myself with the help of that elderly individual that I bought it from. Every time I've worked on this before, I've just strapped up an engine hoist and just lifted this whole assembly off, because this entire back, all this is together. But just playing with it just now, it does lift up. And I can slide it back, which should allow this cutter to come out, which is good. And I'm going to hang the power cord on here just to keep that from swinging shut on us. Now we need to drop the beds. This is not a parallelogram joiner, as you probably already noticed. It's a little bit older, so it's the dovetail. So all we got to do here is loosen this, and I've oiled it, and it's going to knock things over. So those levers are going to come down. Let me get it off the table saw. Wheels are amazing. So I'm just going to drop that side down. It might not go far enough because now this bracket is actually resting here, so I might have to get the engine hoist out after all. I don't know. But in the meantime, we can get the belt off, which is just a simple process of rolling it. So I have had this off once or twice before, just for no other reason than to measure it. Okay, I'm going to move you so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what you may or may not be able to see is these bearing blocks here, front and rear, are held in place down here by this 12mm bolt. You gotta loosen up. And that's it. I can't use ratchet wrenches on camera. Okay, that one there is blocked, obviously, by the base. The one on the back is not. It'll fall all the way through. I'm going to go around the back and remove that while you wait here. Alright, so I've removed the front and the rear bolts from these bearing blocks. And now, lift this up a little bit. Lock that in place because this rabbit arm was in the way. Let's see if we can get this out. That in the way. Hopefully. I don't want to have to. Doesn't look good. Okay, we got that out. Now the trick is to get these bearing blocks off. The pulley comes off easily. I've had that off before because that was one of the measurements I had to make. So we're going to move to a different part of the garage. I'm going to get some other tools and we'll see what we can do here. It's probably going to get ugly. There's probably going to be hammers and stuff that shouldn't be taken to machined parts. Why am I in such a hurry? Because it is 7:24 and I have to be to work at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I want to go to bed, but I also want to know if this works. So, I've got my only two gearing, that's a blend of bearings and gearings. I've got my only two bearing and gear pullers here. Loosen that jam nut. Let's stand it up. Really need to invest in more of these. And of course, that head is too big for that little tiny hole, so I don't think this is going to work. course, that's stuck. There we go. Pulley. Let's get that keyway out of there. I don't think so. I don't want to mess with that. There's our keyway. Let's hold on to that. Okay. I want to say I've gotten this off before, and it wasn't pretty. I probably used a pry bar and a hammer. I don't want to damage my table saw just as much as I don't want to damage. Alright, let's see if this guy fits on there. I think it does not. I also think it needs a point. Something to bite onto. This looks rough. It's going to need a well. WD-40. I need something to hold that. I've got something for that. Stand by. I bought these at Tractor Supply. I knew there'd be a reason. One day. I've yet to be able to get them to work. They keep loosening up for some reason. Like, how do you even figure out where to lock these? Let's see what happens. You never have too many tools. That is one dirty bearing housing. Very gritty. Can you hear that? Alright, so now basically I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. You probably don't need to see it, but I'm going to film it anyway. Okay, so that's number 2. Let's move on to the next step. Let's set this guy aside. I don't know how old this thing is. Who knows if the bearings are even good anymore. Okay, this guy's very short. Bingo. Always do that. I don't know where. I think it was that one. I cut myself earlier on it, just opening it in the box and playing with it. Okay. So we got out of the box. This is the bearing housing that came off of the tail side, or the front side I should say. So let's get that on there. Oh, this hurts. Okay, that's on the way. That's easy enough. Let's get the other side. The good news is those bearings fit, and those bearings were one of the critical measurements in ordering this head. I'm gonna go get a socket. Okay. 24mm socket should do it. Oh boy, it's sticking. It's dull from cutting rolls of sandpaper. That appears to be seated all the way. Now the keyway. up, figure that's where the screw was. And that was this way, which means that would have been right there. The trick is with this, as I found out the first time, is this piece obviously is going to spin separate from there because this piece is bolted down and this is the actual drive pulley. So you got to make sure there's a slight clearance in there and still maintain alignment. Alright, now let's try and get this installed. Okay, obviously installation is basically we're just going to reverse the process. I'm going to set this in, pull those bolts back up. I don't know if you can see that one there. And then we push everything back into place, square this back up, and we're ready to cut. It's super, super easy. You cut this back. I don't want this in the way of the bearing journals. Highly recommend you wrap this stuff in plastic. I wrapped the DeWalt planer head in the plastic. It actually came with plastic. This is just a Ziploc bag that I was hoping to reuse in a different way. But it's the right thickness for the job. The cutters are sharp, but you don't want to nick them either. And that's the sensitive thing right now, especially with these clearances right here. You don't want to hit them or anything. Okay. So just make sure the rounded side where the bolt goes is on the bottom. So we just drop it back into place, and it's really simple. And that's it. The trickiest thing is just getting the threads to bite when you and it spins. Oh, thank God. This is extremely expensive. I mean, it costs at least twice as much as this joiner is, so I'm extremely nervous about making sure that I got the right one, which is why I'm doing this tonight, because there's no way I'm going to be able to wait till Saturday. I didn't get a before cut on this, partly because of time, and partly because every video consists of that. It's obviously incredibly silent. It's hard to really capture how quiet it really is. And really, the main reason I bought this was for the quality of the cut, because that is what is amazing. And now alright, I'm gonna cut because you don't need to see this, and battery on my phone's dying here. Just for reference though, it's only 7:45 right now, so you can tell how quick this process is going. It's just a matter of lining up this screw, which looks like I'm 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch off. Okay, I may actually be running into problems here. I tightened up the back one, and now I removed the front one, tightened up the back one, and now it's kind of getting squirrely on me. This rabbit shelf here is what's causing the problems. I did have to lift that up before. There we go. Think simple. See how sharp that is? Look at that, it already cut the plastic. Alright, let's unwrap it. How hard is that? My settings before, I didn't have any depth settings on here. I just had it all the way up, front and back. So it's up as far as it'll go. It's actually lifting the entire thing. Okay, I'm tightening that down. Same thing, I'll loosen it up. Let's bring it all the way up. Lift it high as it goes. Bring the guard back. Yeah, well, let's slide this over first. And now we just need to tighten all of this back up. That's where it was, doesn't really matter. I don't really like the way this fence gets aligned. There's a lot of weird moving parts that kind of conflict and throw each other out of sync. So it's going to take me a second. I'm going to go ahead and do that and then we'll come back. So I'll put it back together. I got the fence squared up as much as I want to right now. It's probably pretty much just square for good. Got my dust collector hooked up. We're plugged in. I've got, this is some, damn. Mold. I don't like our local lumber stores. They're not bad guys, but everything they sell is already finished. I like rough cut lumber. It's one of the reasons I have this stuff. I want rough cut lumber. I want it to look like this on all four sides. But instead, you end up getting into stuff that's 3/4 of an inch. You know, this is supposed to be 4/4. 4/4 should be an inch long. Where I used to live, 4/4 rough cut was actually more than an inch. Once you were done milling it, you had an inch. This starts at 3/4 because it's already milled. You can see where they, someone milled it. You can see the ripples from the planer knives, and then you still get this stuff. So I'm paying for milled lumber. I'm getting a 3/4 inch thick lumber that is rough cut in portions where it's unusable. Yeah, I can still get a 1/4 inch out of it, but I didn't pay for a 1/4 inch. I paid for 4/4. This is 6/4, and it's actually closer to 4.5/4. But either way, so I got hickory. The edges are still raw, and I've got maple cut off left over from a cutting board I did this weekend. So we're gonna run these through there, and we're gonna see how they do. Let's go with the hickory first. So dust collection. So, like I said, this is what we're looking at. That's the raw edge there. You know, you can't feel that texture, but you can see it. So we'll see how it does. We're in place. I guess I should probably spin this to make sure we're not hitting anything, and we are not. That little snaggle tooth right there is the one that I was concerned about. And really they claim on their website, apparently it's for this little rabbit edge right here. I guess, whatever. But either way, it works. Nothing terrible, I guess. So, dust. Joiner. Good so far. First time I fired it up. Wow, did you hear how quiet that was? Alright, so let's get a little bit of a depth of cut. So, my depth of cut is actually set at 0, but with my knives, they were still cutting. I never had to set it for more than 0 because it was still cutting just enough to give me a jointed edge. That's a 1/16 of an inch right there. Okay, my outfeed side is too high. Let's set the outfeed a little bit. I don't trust it. I don't want to hit any blades. Let's loosen that up. And we'll drop it just a hair. Got no way to really measure that right now. Again, make sure it spins freely. Okay. We'll see what happens. Okay. A little bit of snipe right here, but that's clearly because of my adjustments. It goes along, it's very smooth, and we got a little step down right here as well. I don't know if you can see that or not. Try and line that up with you. You can't. You'll have to take my word for it. Yeah, very smooth finish. I don't have... I'm trying to get the light to your side. I don't have any of those little... I don't know if you can see it or not. The little scallopy pattern that came with this board from the mill. I don't have any of that. I was getting that before. So I'm actually going to increase the cut. See what happens when we take 1/8 of an inch. Allegedly. I don't know how accurate that is. 3/16, baby. A little bit of snipe in the back. I got to figure out that. That's where I restarted it right there. But everything else, there's a couple of hiccups along the way. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that's just the way this is set up. Let's deal with the maple. That's what we're looking at to start with. You know, just a pure rough cut edge. Okay, so I just got to figure out what's causing the little steps as I go along. So there's a step down here, and then that little snipe-like step down on the end. And if my pressure is all on the lead edge, I don't know why it's digging more on that side. I forgot this will still set it at 1/8 of an inch. I don't want to take that much off of this one. So smooth finish. There is a little bit of a kind of a tear out right there. If you look at the side, you can see right, that's like the leading edge of some grain where it transitions. It's got a little bit of figure back here. Less than I would have gotten with regular knives, I believe. You really see how bad the dust collection is on this. There's just stuff everywhere out back. So I'm going to do one more cut with kind of in a position where the camera can see it cutting, and then we'll be done for the day. Or at least I will be, because it's getting late for me. It's 8 o'clock. So for those of you keeping track of the time, let's see. Alright, back up at a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to try and make it as smooth as possible without pausing, although having the camera in the way. Dust collection. Still have those steps. I still got a step there and a step here. So obviously I'm going to play with this a little bit. I'm going to find some more wood that's less expensive and disposable, like something I found myself and milled myself, and not something I had to go to the store to get. But hopefully that was informative. I'm happy with it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you got any questions, please let me know. Again, this was the Byrd Shelix. Essentially, it was a special order because they don't make this one, and it took me a long time, and I am extremely happy with it already. Second one, I had the DeWalt 735, and now I got this one. I'm not getting paid by them, but I definitely love what I've gotten so far. And I've never heard any complaints about it, so I definitely recommend that product if you want to upgrade. Worth the money. They're expensive, but they're worth the money. Thanks for watching.